we need to do when we're talking about polynomials is we really need to understand what a monomial is. So does anyone remember what a monomial is? What is a monomial? It is a, or a. So what's the first thing? It's either a, do you remember what the first thing was? It's either just a number or a variable, or it is a good, or the product of a number, and this is the more technical part, a number and one or more variables. And the reason I even bring this up is because if you don't understand what a monomial is, it's very hard to understand what a polynomial is. By the way, what does mono mean? One. What does poly mean? Many. Okay, so you got to understand that. Monomial is either just a number, a variable, or a product of a number and one or more variables. So you got to get that down. And so now let's get into the definition of a polynomial. I think you guys are good. Okay, so a polynomial. This is what it is. It is the sum of one or more monomials. There's something a little bit off about that sentence or that statement. Go ahead.
I didn't get all of the monomials.
Okay, so it's a number, a variable, or the product of a number and one or more variables. There's something a little bit off about this statement. Do you guys see it? The sum of... Yeah, the sum of one or more monomials. How can you have a sum of one, like one thing? Well, technically, if I gave you one monomial, can you add it with 0? And wouldn't it just be that one monomial? So you could still say that one monomial could be a sum, but it's the sum of one or more monomials. So you got to know what sum is. You got to know what a monomial is to know what a polynomial is. You're like, can we see it? Yes. Page 514, the very bottom, we have examples of polynomials. Do you guys see those three terms? Monomial. What's the second term? Binomial and trinomial. Okay, you have to know the three kinds, really 4 kinds of polynomials. The first kind is a monomial. So is a monomial a polynomial? By this definition, yes. How many terms does it have? It has one term. And I'm using the word term as a term. You got to know what term means. And we've talked about it before, but hopefully we'll get it down. The second type of polynomial is, as some of you said, a binomial. How many terms do you think a binomial has? 2. 2 terms. 2 terms, a binomial. By the way, how do you know it's 2? Binomial means 2. Does anyone know why? Bi means 2. So bicycle, bisector, those are 2. So binomial. And then C, the third type is called, what do you think? You can see it there maybe. Close. It's trinomial. 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 How many terms does that have? 3. 3 terms. All right. It's not in your book, but does anyone know what you call a 4-termed polynomial? What do you think? Yeah. Quadrinomial. Okay. Anyone else have a guess?
Polynomial.
That's it. It's polynomial. There's no special name. You can call it quadnomial if you wanted to, although that's not the technical name. Quatronomial. Never heard of that before. You can call it a tetranomial, which also stands for 4, but it's just called a polynomial with 4 terms. Okay, so you have monomial, binomial, trinomial, and anything that has 4 or more terms, just call it a polynomial. Just call it polynomial. Okay, a lot of people struggle with these terms. You know why? Because it's sometimes hard to say. So we're just going to review how to say these words, okay? We're going to say monomial, binomial, trinomial, and then polynomial. Can we do that? Let's do it all together. Ready? Monomial, binomial, trinomial, polynomial. Okay, now you do it on your own. Ready? Okay, you guys are chanting it, which scares me. So like the last class, we're done with that. Okay, I'm not doing that anymore. I can't deal with that right now. But anyway, you got to know what these are, and hopefully you know how to say them. But the prefix of each one of these tells you how many terms you're dealing with. Okay. Look back at that chart real quick. A monomial, 3y squared. Let's get one example here, 3y squared. Why is this a monomial? We'll go back to that first definition we had today. Why is it a mon? Is it a number? Not really. Is it just a variable? Nope. But it is a product of one number and one or more variables. So yeah, monomial right here. Okay, the next one, -9. That can't be a monomial. Is it a number? Then it is a monomial. So these are both monomials. Okay. Binomial, this is where it really is going to be a little bit different, but hopefully we can understand this concept. 4x minus 7. Okay, the reason I call it binomial is because it has 2 terms. Like 2 terms. What do you mean by terms? Okay, I'm going to underline the first term of this binomial and then the second term of the binomial. The first term is positive 4x. Where did I get that positive? It's not there, is it? If it's not written there, it's implied. If there's no sign in front of a number, it's positive. And then the second term is going to be -7. Now, if you're looking at your notes, you see the definition of polynomial. It says a polynomial is the, what's that next word? The sum. What does sum talk about? It's talking about addition. Is there addition going on here? Yes. These 2 terms are being added. These 2 terms are being added. 4x and -7 are being added. Can you also say they're being subtracted? Yep. But they're also being added, and you need to know that. All right, 2x plus 9y. Could somebody tell me what the first term is in this binomial? What's the first term? Brian?
2x.
Yeah, positive 2x is the first term. Second term, Jackson. Positive 9y. What's going on between 2x and positive 9y? What operation? Addition. They're being added together. Oh, Mr. They are being, yes, they're being added together. However you want to see it that way. Why is it called a binomial? Because how many monomials are up here? 2 of them. And what's going on between them? Someone say it? Addition. Okay, next one. 3x squared minus 11xy. Okay, somebody give me the first term. Autumn? What's the first term in this one? 3x squared. Positive 3x squared. Second term, Lucy? No, you're good. -11xy. Yep, it's that whole thing. Is this a monomial, by the way? Is 3x squared a monomial? Is -11xy a monomial? So you have 2 monomials, and what's going on between them? Answer wisely. They're being added. I write it so small, it's almost not there. And the last one, they gave you 2 plus 13x. 2 plus 13. Yeah, x. What's the first term? Alex. 2. Positive 2. What's the second term, Jenna? Positive 13x. What's going on between 2 and 13x? Addition. Okay? Now, I don't have to write that little plus sign. In fact, how many of you get that they're being added here, and here, and here, and here? How many of you get that? Okay, in 7th grade, we're going over this concept, and it's confusing. I get a lot of, like, the eyes are like, wait, what? Squinting eyes or downcast face. Because if you don't see this, it's going to be really hard to do the next steps that we're going to do in our lesson. In fact, do you guys remember when we first talked about this last year, where you're always adding? I'll always remember it because I remember your faces on it. But what I want to say about that, when I first introduced it, it was confusing for a lot of you. How many of you, this is confusing now? So guess what? Did you learn a little bit? Did you grow a little bit in math? Yep, because you see that without me having to explain it for too long, I hope. All right, trinomial. Oh, a plus 2b plus 4c. A plus 2b plus 4c. All right. Turner, what's the first term? Good, positive a. What's the second term? Claire? Positive 2b. Third term? Jack? Positive 4c. What's going on among those three terms? Matt? Addition. That's it. Good. Next one, I'm going to go with the last one there. 3a minus 7b squared minus 4c. You know what? I kind of get this as a class. Like, I think you guys are doing really well. But how can you help me out if I'm looking at my homework and I have to underline each term? How can you tell me how to get my terms straightened out? Can someone explain that to me? How do I make sure that I underline the correct term and I know for sure? Jack?
Just look at the signs.
Just look at, what about the signs? What do you mean by that?
Every sign is a term.
Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. Can you guys identify the monomials here? Can everyone see 3a is a monomial? Okay, and is there a sign in front of the 3a? Not written there, but technically it's positive. Is this a monomial right here? What's the sign in front of it? Negative. Is this a monomial right here? What's the sign in front of it? Negative. So we have our three terms. It's a monomial with the sign in front of it. Does that make sense? A monomial with whatever sign in front of it. So we have three of them. That's a trinomial. Okay. Let's look at example 1 to see if you guys can identify it. So don't look at the answers, and I have something to say about this because it relates to your quiz, whether you took it or not already. On the quiz, I think you guys did, for the ones I graded, you guys did well. But there's this last part that I put instructions there for. It said, and I don't care because I told everyone already, express your answer in scientific and standard form. Do you know what I saw in some of them? I saw scientific, and it sometimes looked really good. But what did I not see? Standard form, or standard notation. So read the instructions. Yeah, read the instructions. That will help you out. And if you didn't do it on the quiz, don't worry. I'll give you another quiz on that, or test. So can somebody read for me example number 1? You won't get them back today because I still had to put the actual percent grade and then enter them in, and then 4 or 5 of you haven't taken it, so I'm just going to wait.
Should we go to you and ask you personally?
Yeah, but I would ask at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, someone read example 1's instructions, please, because that's going to tell us what to do. Okay, Nate, can you read example 1?
Whether each expression is a polynomial, if it is a polynomial, identify it as either monomial, binomial, or trinomial.
Okay, so here on A, we get 3a minus 7bc. 3a minus 7bc. Okay, can somebody tell me what the terms are in this expression? Jackson. Good. So I have two terms. Are these two terms forming a polynomial? Is this an official polynomial? What do you think? Is it a sum of monomials? So you put yes. Put yes. And if it is a polynomial, what type is it? So we have three choices. We have monomial, binomial, trinomial. Yeah, Nate. Binomial. Why is it binomial? Because how many terms does it have? 2, so it's binomial. Okay, with B, 3x squared plus 7a minus 2 plus a. Okay, did you guys notice anything about this polynomial or wannabe polynomial that's a little bit different from the other ones, or something that being changed? Jenna? Okay, this is what I want you to do. Can somebody identify the terms in this expression? Can someone give me what the terms are? Let's go with Harrison. Give me the terms.
Like 3x squared.
That's one term.
And 7a for positive.
It's positive 7a.
Negative 2 and positive a.
Good. So we have, it's 4 terms. What's the special name for that? Do you guys know anything about do you guys notice anything about a pair of terms? Yep. Yes. These two terms right here are, do you guys remember what they're called? Like terms. Remember I used terms already? Like terms. Can I combine 7a and positive a? What do I get with those? 8a. So 3x squared plus 8a minus 2. I have a question though. What if I wrote it 3x squared minus 2 plus 8a? Why am I wrong, or why is it the same thing?
Because it's addition, you can switch them.
You can switch it around. As long as you keep the number with its sign, it should be fine. Okay, what kind of polynomial is that then? Trinomial. Yes, it's a trinomial. It has 3 terms. When you simplify it, it has 3 terms. Oh, man. And then C. I'm glad we have C because I'm going to clarify something for you. I think someone asked this, I'm not sure which class it was, but it's still going to apply to all of us. Is this a polynomial? Why or why not? And I'm going to answer, I think most of you are saying no, it's not a polynomial. You're correct. It's not, but the reason it's not, and this is going to apply to you today, it has division with a variable in the denominator. That automatically makes it not a polynomial. So if there's division going on, and it has a variable in the denominator, then it is not a polynomial. Okay? Does that make sense? Because you could technically, if it was in the numerator, the variable was in the numerator, you can make it multiplication, and it'd be fine, but not with the variable down low. Yes, ma'am?
So if it was 7 halves times r squared plus stuff?
It would be a polynomial. Okay, so you just put no, because in this form, it is not a polynomial. You just put no.
But can you switch it above? Because
If you, well, no, you can't. And it's kind of weird how that works. There is a method to make the variable go up there, but it doesn't change the fact that it's not a polynomial. Okay. You guys good with identifying monomial, binomial, trinomial? You guys good with that? Okay. Let's go to the next concept. Not only do you need to know the type of polynomial, you need to know the degree of a monomial. The degree of a monomial, which is going to apply to the degree of a polynomial. Okay. Okay, the degree of a monomial is going to be very helpful in the next lessons because they're going to help you know how do I work these problems out. Well, if you know the degree, it makes it easier. It is the sum of the exponents of the variables. And so I'm going to underline some key concepts here. The sum refers to what? Addition. The exponents, so I'm talking about the sum or the addition of the exponents of the variables. Of the variables. We're only talking about the variables, not the coefficients or the numbers in front of the variables. Okay, so that's the degree of a monomial. So 8y cubed, is that a monomial? It's not a number, it's not just a variable, but it is what? A product of a number and one or more variables. Okay, the degree of this polynomial is 3. That's the degree of this polynomial. How did I get 3? Well, let me ask you this question. Does this monomial have variables? Does it have variables? Yes, it has what? Y. What's the exponent of y? 3. Are there any other variables?
Yes.
Nope. There are no other variables, so you just say it's a degree of... Okay, and I'll actually answer that question because I think I know what you're talking about. But let's go to the next one. 4y squared AB. Okay. What are the variables? We got y, a, and b. Do those variables have exponents? Well, yeah, the y has a 2, but does a and b have a variable? What are those variables? 1 and 1. What is the sum of those exponents? 4. So the degree of this monomial is 4. The degree of the monomial is 4. And then, Jack, I think this might be what you're referring to. Negative 14. Does negative 14 have a variable?
No.
I see some no's. I see some I haven't answered yet. Brian, what do you think?
No.
No? Yeah, I don't see one, right? Pick your favorite variable. Pick your favorite letter. Just think of it right now. Put it to the 0 power, and what's that worth? Okay, so let's see. Rosalind, I think you picked R. Yep. R to the 0, what's that worth? What's R to the 0? This is worth 1. So what's the degree of negative 14? 0 degree. It's a 0 degree polynomial, or monomial, I should say. And then 42 ABC.
Doesn't 14 have a 1 next to it?
Say that again?
Doesn't negative 14 have 1?
Yeah, but we're talking about the sum of the exponents of the variables. Yeah, that's a good question. What's the degree of 42 ABC? 3, because the sum of the exponents, 1, 2, 3, is going to be 3. All right. You good on that? Because this next part assumes you know that. Okay, turn the page to 516. We're almost done. We're getting there. It's a rough crowd today. You guys okay? Did you sleep enough? How many of you felt like you slept enough during the break? Okay. How many of you did not feel like you slept enough? Like maybe someone dragged you to watch something, or you had to stay up for whatever reason? Okay. How many of you was kind of rough because you had 4 days to do that? Like it kind of built up. You stay late one night, the next night, and then the following night? It's kind of rough, right? I get that. And sorry, was there someone who got sleep? Like they're like, I got sleep. Okay, good. Okay.
I got sleep until last night.
Okay, until last night? Oh, so last night was a rough night. It's tough. Yeah. Sleep. That sounds nice about now. Okay, sorry. Let's keep going here. Let's talk about the degree of a polynomial. So you guys notice the difference? What was the last section on? The degree of a monomial. And now it's the degree of a polynomial, which you could say is probably the same thing. And it kind of is, but let's see if we can figure this one out. Okay, let's just go to example number 3a. Let's see if we can figure this out. 9xy plus 2. Okay, somebody give me what the terms are. Matt, what's the first term here?
9xy.
Positive 9xy. What's the second term, Emery? Positive 2. What kind of polynomial is that? What's the type? It's a binomial. Good, let's review. Okay, what's the degree of this monomial? Does anyone remember what's the degree of this monomial? Somebody call it out. 2. It's a 2 degree or second degree. What's the degree of the second monomial? 0. Okay. How do we determine what the degree of a polynomial is? It's not what you may be thinking right away. It's just the degree of the highest monomial. So which one has the highest degree? This one. And what's the degree of it? 2. What's the degree of the whole polynomial? It's a 2. Degree of 2. So that's how you determine the degree of a polynomial. You don't add them up. You just get 2. All right, next one. Ooh. Can someone read that for me? Because it's hard to look back at many times. Can someone read B? Let's see. Carrot, read for me B, 3B.
18x squared plus 21xy squared plus 13x minus 2abc.
Oh, man. Okay, thank you. How many terms is that? What a great question. Maggie, what's the first term? Positive 18x squared. Second term, Claire?
21x squared.
Positive 21x squared, xy squared. That's okay. Jackson, third term?
Positive 13x.
Positive 13x. Harrison, last term.
Negative 2
-2abc. Sorry, it looks like an E. It's a C. Are any of those terms like terms, by the way, before you keep working on it? Are they like terms? Looks like them, but which ones are like terms? Okay, doesn't it look like 18x squared and 13x are like terms, but do they have the same exponent? Like, they both have x, but they don't have both the same exponent, so you can't combine them. Can you combine any others? Okay, so what kind or what type of polynomial is this? Do you remember what I call it? What? You just call it a polynomial. Okay, what's the degree of the first term? 2. What's the degree of the second term? 3. What's the degree of the third? 1. And the last? 3. Which one has the highest degree? Well, there's a tie. And what's a tie? Of 3. What's the degree of the whole polynomial then? 3. That's your answer to B. 18x squared plus 21xy squared plus 13x minus 2abc. The degree is 3. That's it. Yes, sir.
Why do you do like the highest? Like, why don't you combine all of these and
Yeah, and what's going to happen is when we get to higher math, we're going to deal with concepts that say the highest degree is 2. So we're going to deal with a certain concept, which is only referring to, I don't care how many terms you have, but the highest power sum is going to be 2 or 3 or 4. So there's a reason why we call them that, because you're going to see it later in that way. But really, it's kind of what we just thought of, and we're going to stick with it, and then it helps us to learn it more later. Okay, I want to see if you guys are really doing well with this. Good question. 517, page 517. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you these problems, and I'm going to call on one of you to give me all the terms and what type of polynomial it is. So on 517, everyone do number 5. And after you're done with that, I'll let you check with your neighbor, but then I might call on one of you to tell me what the final answer is on that. So I'll ask you many questions, so you've got to be ready for all of them. On number 5, so it says, state whether each expression is a polynomial. If the expression is a polynomial, identify it as a monomial, binomial, or trinomial. Okay, a lot of communication with neighbors. That was good. We'll go with Abby. Abby, is number 5 a polynomial?
Yes.
So you would put yes. And is it a monomial, binomial, or trinomial? Why?
Because it has 3 terms.
What's the first term?
4x cubed.
Okay, second term?
Negative 11ab.
Third term?
6, or positive 6.
Good, very nice correction there. Yep, it's a trinomial, and she gave me all the terms. All right, number 7. And this one's slightly trickier. Hint, hint. I wish things were simpler. Okay, I'm going to ask you pretty much the same questions I asked Abby, but I'll do it more intensely, so it'll be more intimidating. Okay, Carson, is that a polynomial?
Yes.
Yes. How many terms?
2.
Wait, 2? Why?
Because then you would combine the negative c and the positive 4c.
Huh. So what kind of polynomial is that? Excuse me? Sure about that? Don't follow me. I said, are you sure about that?
Yes.
Good. Okay, so it is a binomial. Good job, Carson. Was that more intimidating?
No.
A tad bit. Thank you. Do you think I can be more intimidating?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try. Number 6. I hope you guys got on number 7, you can combine 4c and negative c, 3c, 3c plus ab, or ab plus 3c. And one of you is in for a treat. I might pick on you, Jenna. Number 6. I'm just kidding. I found my victim. I mean, volunteer. Are you guys done? Good. Number 6. Lily Mooney. What's your answer?
No.
No what?
It's not a polynomial.
Number 6.
It's not
Are you laughing? This is funny. Okay. You know what I think is funny? Or you think that's funny? That's not what I meant. What I thought was funny is not what you think is funny. Okay, what was your answer, by the way? No is correct. Okay, good. No, it's not a polynomial, but let me ask why, and I'm going to do it in a nice way this time. Jenna, what'd you get?
It's because the...
Yeah, come on, you got it. Go. What's so funny? I'm trying to help you out. That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, come back.
Because it's on the denominator.
Yes, Jenna. Yes! It's because that x squared is in the denominator, no longer a polynomial. I'm sorry, it liked me so much that...
No.
Or it got scared of me. Come on, come back. That's fun to do, by the way. I enjoyed that. Did it catch all that, by the way?
Yes.
Ugh, that's fine.
Why wouldn't it just be a binomial?
Okay, good question. So on number 6, if that expression has a non-monomial, so a term that is not a monomial, the whole thing is not a polynomial. So that'll help you out. All right, do number 8. I want you to find the degree of each polynomial. Lily, was that intimidating? No? A little? We'll see. We'll see what Swivl says later. Yeah. Number 8. I just want the degree of that polynomial. So number 8, Autumn.
Is it 1?
Yep. Degree of 1. Number 9. I'll give you 5 seconds. Okay, that's 5 seconds. Carrick, number 9. What's the degree of 10? 0. Very good. And then 10. I'll give you, I don't know, I'm trying to think how much time. I would say like maybe 10 seconds. 20 for some. 5 for others maybe. Okay, time's up. Lucy, what's the degree of number 10? 15. Where in the world did you get that?
I added the, 12.
Okay.
It's bigger than the other side.
Oh, the first monomial has a degree of 15. The second monomial has a degree of 14. 15 is bigger than 14. So 15 is the degree. You guys get that? All right, last little concept, we're done. If you got everything, this should be just slightly tougher, not very much at all. Look at 516, the very middle. Do you see that purple chart in the middle where it says ascending and descending? Okay, what does ascending mean? You go from small to big, or you go from least to greatest. What does descending mean? Greatest to least? Okay, the reason why I'm trying to make an emphasis of this is because I remember this chapter, quizzes and tests, I told the 8th graders last year, write it in ascending order. So that means you got to go from the least to the greatest, right? Or write it in descending. And you know what they did? Write it in ascending order. They'd write it in descending. Write it in descending order. They write it in ascending. Are you going to do that? No, I hope not. Because in the instructions, it's going to say one or the other. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at number 11 on page 517, because that'll help us out with that concept. And just write out that expression, the negative 11x. Just write that out as they wrote it. And if you don't read the instructions, on this one, you might get away with it. But on the next one, not going to happen. Okay. So on this one, can someone read me the instructions? You don't have to read me the polynomial. Just read me the instructions that's in that problem for number 11. Maggie.
Arrange the terms so that the powers of x are in descending order.
So that the powers of x are in descending order. Okay, so can anyone give me the terms here? I'm going to go with Turner. Give me all the terms.
Negative 11x, positive 5x to the third, negative 12x to the sixth, and x to the eighth.
Okay, what you have to do now is you have to look at the variable x and look at the exponents of x. So what's the exponent of x in the first term? 1. Second term? 3. Third term? 6. Last term? 8. Okay, that is the degree of each monomial when you're just thinking of x. Just look at the x, which I know that's the only one here, but that changes in the next problem. Which one should I put first then? If I'm looking at the degree and writing it in descending order. X to the 8th. I write that first. X to the 8th. Okay, so that one's done. I crossed it out for myself. What's the next one that should come up? Negative 12x to the 6th. That's the next one. Next. Positive 5x cubed. And last. Last and least. Pun intended. Why is it last and least? Because yes, it is the last term, and yes, it is the least. That would be negative 11x. Okay, are these terms written in descending order of the x variable, of the power of x? Yep, 8, 6, 3, 1. We're good with that one. We'll look at number 12. Write that expression there, the way they wrote it. Y to the 4th. Be careful because there's so many variables and exponents, it can be kind of tricky. Okay, someone read those instructions, and you don't have to read the polynomial. Lily G up here.
Arrange the terms of the power of x are in ascending order.
In ascending order, and what power? Power of what? Excuse me? Power of what variable? X. And isn't that important? Because we do have y's here, but we're talking about the x's. So what's the power of x in the first term? 1. What's the power of x in the second term? 3. Third term? 2. Last term? 5. I want to write it in ascending order of the x power, or the x variable. So which one comes first? Ascending order. Yeah, the first one they gave us, thankfully. Second one, we'll finish with this. Second one would be negative x squared. Third? Yep, and then last term is the last one they gave us. That's writing it in ascending order of the x variable, or the powers of x. I will see you guys later. This video will not show itself online.